Hello students, welcome you on the topic of optical sources. Previous classes you might have seen about optical sources. The main component was LED and the second optical sources is going to be on laser. We know by the name laser can be abbreviated as light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. How does the lasing action takes place? This is the basic fundamental physics theory that undergoes, which we have studied in the 12th standard. I'm just going to make a recap of it. All the elements are going to be lying on the lower energy. It will be excited to the higher state. It cannot remain in higher state for a long time. It has to come back. When it is come back, it will try to emit an photon. That is what is called as absorption technique. So the emitted energy is called in terms of a light and we call it as photon, which is carrying an energy of h into V. H is the Planck's constant and it takes the value 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 joules second. So when I want to do a laser action, I need three different systems. So I'll take a two-level atomic system. I have three different levels to be done over there. First is the absorption, what I've explained now. Second one is going to be the spontaneous emission, which means that the absorption has occurred. It goes to the higher energy. It cannot remain over there. Spontaneously it tries to fall back, and once it is falling back, it emits a photon. So initial energy is going to be h into V 1 by 2 in the absorption stage. In your spontaneous emission, it emits a photon. It will have an energy h into V 2 by 1 by 2. Now, in stimulated emission, when that particular energy electron which is remaining in higher state, when it tries to fall down, inaccidentally it may hit another exciting electron. So what happens over there, instead of falling down, it hits another electron and that electron now excites and produces some energy output, and that new energy output is called as the stimulated emission. So you're stimulating an electron by an external force and you're creating an energy output. Now both the energies of the first condition and now the present condition will try to remain in coherent. Population inversion is one of the important action to be occurred in a laser process. So how does this occur? For a system in thermal equilibrium stage, absorption rate is equal to spontaneous emission rate plus stimulated emission rate. Okay. Spontaneous emission is always a dominant characteristics. And the equation between the relationship of stimulated emission to spontaneous emission is 1 by exponential h into f by kt minus 1. H is Planck's constant, K is Boltzmann's constant, T is the operating temperature. We always assume to be 1000 Kelvin. F is the lambda optical source, lambda, which is nothing but the wavelength from the optical source. To increase the stimulated emission occurring, we always want it to be in non-equilibrium distribution of atoms, and this technique is called as population inversion. So always a system will be in thermal equilibrium. Absorption is equal to spontaneous emission plus stimulated, but you want the stimulated emission to be always in increasing mode. In thermal equilibrium, spontaneous will be dominant, whereas in non-thermal equilibrium mode, stimulated emission is going to be increased, and that increasing activity is called as the population of inversion. This can be done by using pumping action, which is nothing but an external energy source added to it. The diagram shows the lasing action that can act place. Active medium is the internal medium in which you will have the P and N recombination occurring. So we can find out how the gain coefficient can be calculated. G21 is the gain coefficient. The output power is equal to initial power exponential of G21 into Z. Stimulated emission plus stimulated absorption. So first will be your absorption, then only stimulated emission that can occur. So you are rewriting the equation with respect to the absorption coefficient alpha. Once a stimulated action is occurring, it is only one time it occurs, but you have to keep on having this stimulated action to be occurred for certain stages, then only you will get an amplified output. So in order to do that operation, we'll have this active medium to be termed in with a name called as Fabry-Perot resonator. So what is this Fabry-Perot resonator? You will have an active medium in which a lacing action will take place. Population inversion can occur, but the end terminals of this particular active medium is being enclosed within the mirrors, which means that this stimulated emission cannot be letted outside as an emitted photon. It goes on moving internally between these two mirrors. It keeps on moving from left to right, again it moves from right to left. So it is an action which takes place between these two mirrors within an active medium. At one particular stage, it reaches its maximum amplitude, and that amplitude is being pushed out as an output taken from a Fabry-Perot resonator. This is what is the equation shown over here. Okay, you have one action to be taking place. First, you are going to send the power. It moves on from the right hand direction. You can see over here. It moves on over here. Then after that it returns back and goes still here. Again it goes over here. So this action will take place until you take an output of a maximum amplitude which is thrown out from the Fabry-Perot resonator. And how to calculate your initial equation and final equation, that is being given over here, Pz of and Pl. You can find out how the components have been evaluated. So PL, now for one round a complete trip, R1, R2, P2L. So you will have L to be forward, backward. So 2L you will get it. Gain in one round trip is R1, R2 exponential G2 minus alpha coefficient. So you can calculate first the power initial condition, then the gain involved in that condition. For a sustained oscillation, this oscillation has to be sustained, which means that it keeps on occurring. For that the gain should be very much higher. So the threshold condition, it is equal to 1, but for a threshold gain coefficient you can calculate GTH by taking a ln function. Take a ln function for this threshold condition. You can calculate what is GTH by taking alpha by 1 by 2L ln of R1 R2 value parameter. So let us see about the laser structure. How does the laser structure look into it? I'm only saying about active medium so far. So how does the laser structure look into it? So this is what is the laser structure. We can define it. The diagrams you can keenly observe over here. You have several layers piled up. You have lateral size 5 to 15 micron, longitudinal 250 to 500 micron. Okay. Transverse size is the central active medium part where you are going to take an amplified lacing output. In between the lacing spot, you can find out two mediums, which is called as optical and carrier confinement layers. And we have a dielectric medium, that is your mirror, reflecting mirror. Cavities are rough cut. So when you have the cavities, internal attachment within two layers are roughly cut. Cavity ends, both the sides on the front and back, are cleaved on a crystal plane. Okay. So the lacing action, the active medium is lying internally. The active medium is this one. It's lying internally between two confinement layers, and this is your mirror. So it keeps on moving a lacing action to occur from the travel time from up and forth. When it reaches its maximum condition, optical power is taken as a lacing output. This is the confinement taken from the active region. This is what is the laser structure basically defines for us how it happens through an active medium. Optical confinement in transverse direction, lacing continues in the longitudinal direction. Confinement factor is denoted by gamma, which is your reflection coefficient, that can be calculated. This is the previous equation, gain coefficient, threshold coefficient GTH into gamma is needed for lacing action, which is nothing but alpha by 1 by 2L ln of R1 and R2. Thank you.